Today is Thursday, December 19th, 2013, and this is the beginning of an interview with Richard Willer at the Rutherford B. Hayes Presidential Center in Fremont, Ohio. Mr. Willer is 88 years old, having been born on January 21st, 1925. My name is Julie Miley, and I am a manuscripts assistant here at the Rutherford B. Hayes Presidential Center, and I will be doing the interview. Mr. Willer, could you state for the record what war and branch of service you served in?
Well, I served in World War II in the Marine Corps.
Okay. Now, when you entered the Marine Corps, were you drafted or were you enlisted?
Well, that's controversial because I had a deferment. I grew up on a farm in Lindsay, and my dad farmed for a mail clerk who was never home. He only come home once in a while. And we farmed the farm. Well, then, after my dad left there, I stayed on and farmed, and they got me a deferment, the farmer did. Mm-hmm. But I didn't want to do that. And one day I was out plowing, and I just parked the tractor and said, I've had enough. And I went and called the draft board, and I said, I want to enlist. And so they took care of that. They didn't argue with me about that. And then they sent me, they put me on a bus with a group, and we went to Cleveland to go through all the physical things, and we had to do paper tests and all kinds of things. And then they put me in charge of 11 guys. And I was supposed to see that these 11 guys got to San Diego, California. Well, you can imagine what a mess that was.
Oh, my Lord.
Was on a train. And I was probably one of the youngest of them. I was still only 18.
Wow.
But they gave me a book of checks. Each check was only worth $1. But I had to sign that. And we ate at Hardy. You ever hear the Hardy Girls? Mm-hmm. Okay, we ate at those restaurants. All along the way, they were along the railroad. And so we'd stop, and the 11 guys would pile out, go in there, and then when they're done, I'd write my name on how many dollar checks I needed. And it was cheap, they didn't charge us a whole lot. And then whenever we stopped the train and let another train go through, there'd be women with baskets of cookies and everything, and they'd walk along the windows and give us things like that. And somehow, all 11 of us got to San Diego. I never thought we'd make it.
That's a lot to keep track of.
Well, yeah, and when we'd stop, a lot of the guys would go running from the nearest bar, and the engineer on the train said, "Now I'm going to blow the whistle 3 times, and you better come running." And we would pick up guys from a previous train that didn't make it, but we never lost any. I made all 11 of us got there.
That's a good job.
I don't know how we did it.
Was there a particular reason you picked the Marine Corps, or did you say the draft board just pretty much took care of that?
Well, there was part of a reason. My cousin, who lived in Fostoria, was a sergeant in the Marine Corps, and he was trying to persuade me to sign up for the Marines.
Was that the one you mentioned in your book?
Yeah.
Your cousin?
Albert.
Yes.
Albert Gibbon.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know if you read that in there, but when I was on Guadalcanal the second time, and my mother sent me a letter.
You were just a few miles.
Yeah, and Mom said, why don't you look up Albert? He's over there in the Pacific, too.
Lo and behold.
And one of the sergeants, we were laughing and passing this around. One of the sergeants said, I think that unit's just a couple miles north of us here. And sure enough, I went up there, and Albert was staying in the same tent that, Ginger Rogers. He was in the same tent with Ginger Rogers' husband.
Really?
Anyhow, so I walk up there and I said, "Does anybody here know Albert Gibbet?" "Oh yeah, Gibby." And they yelled, "Hey, Gibby!" Well, there was no answer. Finally, somebody said he's down the river washing a truck. So I went down there and I stood there and watched him a while. I didn't say anything. I just stood there and watched him. He looked up and he said, "For God's sake, what are you doing here?" Here we were only a couple of miles from each other and didn't know it.
Oh, that makes a small world.
But from then on, we were kind of together. He had been in the Raiders, and when they disbanded the Raiders, they gave him cushy jobs. So he was in charge of service and supply for officers and stuff. He had a nice job. But he went to China with us, and so I got to see him a number of times after that.
That's nice. So do you recall your first days of the service and your boot camp experience? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
You never forget that.
You sound like my dad.
Yeah, well, of course, the first day when we all got there, I was exhausted because trying to keep track of these guys, it was a problem. And when we got there, they said, "Go upstairs and we'll call you." And they had cots all over. I laid down on a cot, and so did everybody else. But apparently they called them, and I never knew they called the guys. I woke up, and I'm the only one there. They're all gone, and I was in trouble from the start. So they had to take me around by myself and get me uniforms and all that stuff. And they chewed me out. I heard a lot about that, about stupid idiot and all that. But we had this usual boot camp. They made it as miserable as they could for us. At one time we were marching. You're supposed to slap the rifle and keep the rhythm by slapping. We weren't slapping it loud enough, so they make us get down on our stomachs in the blacktop and slap that blacktop until our hands were sore.
Oh my God.
You know, they did terrible things to us. But somehow we survived.
Do you remember any particular instructors, fondly or not so fondly?
None of them fondly. No, and that one guy, the one sergeant that was in charge, he was out in the sand dunes showing us hand-to-hand combat, how to do this and how to throw people down and everything. And this one guy from Toledo, I can't think of his name, he was my hero, but when it came his turn, he'd say, "Step forward, son, and take me down, try and take me down." So this kid stepped up there and threw this DI down. And boy, we couldn't say anything, but we were ready to yell, what a hero.
Yeah.
But the DI said, "All right, son, let's try that again." So this time the DI did put him down. But he, from then on, he was our hero. Put the DI down.
No kidding.
I visited him already in Toledo, but I think he's dead now. But
yeah. Did you guys just have about 6 weeks of training, or did they rush it at all because of?
No, it's 6 weeks.
Was it 6 weeks?
Well, then we went to the rifle range and everything. Incidentally, we were just talking about this the other day from this guy that died. That's one problem I have. My short-term memory is gone.
Yeah.
But the one that I just told, Dan Andicober.
Oh.
My brother and I went to that place in Sandusky, the Veterans Hospital. Mm-hmm. We thought maybe that we could go there when we get so old. And then when we were ready to leave, the guy at the desk said, "Have you seen the museum yet?" I said, "No, we didn't know there was a museum here." So we went over to the museum, and there was a woman in charge of it. And she asked us if we were in the service and all this, and showed us all around the museum. And she said, "Well, what service was you in?" And I said, "I was in the Marine Corps." She said, "So was I." I said, "What?" I said, Camp Pendleton? She said, yeah. I said, Area 13? She said, yeah. I said, I remember one time we went through there on a convoy. We were sitting in, the trucks were loaded with guys, and the women were hanging their underclothes and stuff up on the clothesline, and guys were screaming and hollering and cheering. She says, I remember you guys. And a year or two later, we went on a bus tour on Veterans Day or something, and went to this same museum, and she remembered me.
Oh,
there you
left an impression.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
But she lived in California, but had come here to be in charge of the museum.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So after boot camp, you went. Where did they send you next?
New Caledonia.
And what regiment or what?
I wasn't in a regiment at that
Okay.
time. But I was sent to New Caledonia there's a camp, Camp St. Louis in
Okay.
New Caledonia. And my cousin, Albert, that I told you, he had gone through there too. So I was chasing him around. But every morning we'd get up before daylight, and we'd all march to the top of a mountain. There was a big mountain in the center, and then they had a big horn, and they'd blow a bugle in there, and they'd always tell us that if we had 300 guys, they said there's only food for 200.
So that made you go.
So we come down like crazy trying to get the first one down there.
Wow.
Then one time they said they had ice cream for us, and we went over there, and all they had were cans of liquid. They said, well, we don't have any way to freeze it, you have to drink it.
The ice cream?
Yeah.
That's kind of sweet.
Yeah, it wasn't good. But that was their idea of ice cream.
Oh, wow.
And then some Australians put on a stage show for us, and part of it was a wedding, but it was all guys. There were no girls in it. But the guys were dressed like girls, like the bride and all that. They put on quite a show.
Oh, my.
That was good. Then I went from there. I wasn't there real long. I went from there to. That's another time they put me in charge of a group to go up to Guadalcanal.
Really?
And we went on a wooden tugboat or something. It wasn't a big boat or anything.
Out in the ocean?
Yeah. there was I think 10 of us, something like that. And they put us on the bow.
Mm-hmm.
They had a canvas stretched over the bow, and the captain was up on the top deck and on the microphone, and he said, welcome aboard the USS whatever. He said, hope you, the chow is on the bow, hope you enjoy your ride, the head is over the side.
Oh,
So
my God.
we went up to Guadalcanal. Got up there, and an ammunition dump had blown up.
Wow.
And they had prisoners out there gathering up the ammunition and putting it on LSTs and taking it out and dumping it. But they said every once in a while one went off. And I said, but you don't want to be a prisoner around here.
Mm-mm. So were you were assigned to an artillery battalion originally?
At that time?
Yeah.
No, I was in 50 caliber machine guns at that time.
Okay.
And then when they sent me up to New Georgia, I was on 50 caliber machine guns there. And the Battle of Bougainville was pretty well over. New Georgia is Bougainville is part of New Georgia islands. And so fortunately that was pretty well over with by the time I got there. But I was on 50 caliber machine guns at that time.
Okay.